Do you struggle with a sway in your golf swing? If you think about the position of your right knee relative to your right foot, one of the biggest issues we do see with a lot of golfers at top shots, thin shots, and lack a lot of confidence is your right knee gets too far outside your right foot. The instep of your right foot loses its connection with the ground. We start to see the instep of your right foot start to elevate off the ground. Right knee collapses and gets outside your right foot. What you can see from there is all my weight gets positioned too far outside my right foot. Then as we come into impact, because I've moved too far away from the golf ball, so I've got too much lateral shift behind the golf ball to the right, as I come back into impact, I'm going to have to get back and further ahead compared to where I started at impact. So if I get too far behind the golf ball, to get back into the impact position, you'll start to see this lower body overtake the upper body, so I've got too much lateral shift. See my lower body slides too much, upper body hangs back, and you start to see a collapsed impact position where the club head always hits the ground before the golf ball. The drills you can use to prevent this happening: place an additional golf club underneath your right foot. If I sway, you can see from there that club is going to fall to the ground. So you're going to try and keep the club head underneath your right foot for the duration of the backswing. So swing the club to the top. I'm going to try and feel like I create a little bit more pressure with the inside of my right shoe on the ground. That might feel that you need to kick your right knee in a little bit closer inside your right ankle, a little bit more to try and get the weight to stay on the instep of your right foot. Don't let the knee slide outside the right foot. Swing the club to the top, just feel like your right knee gets a little bit more ahead of the right. Apply a little bit more pressure with the instep of your right foot to the ground. Feeling to create that is trying to get your right knee to feel like it just gets ahead of your right foot. Swing the club to the top, it'll feel a little bit of a resistance in your right hip, but we're going to try and keep the instep of the right foot on the ground, so apply a little bit of pressure. It'll feel like your chest is a little bit more on top of the golf ball. As we swing to the top, keep that club underneath your right foot. Then as we swing into impact, we're just going to let the club drop after impact. Foot swing to the top, feel like you're pressing a little bit more on the instep of your right heel. And then as we come into impact, we're just going to let that club drop after impact. You can see from there all my weight starts to transfer into the left side. Drill number 2, you can use place an additional golf club and place it so the grip end of the club is connected to your right hip. If we sway, that golf club is going to fall behind me, so you're trying to stabilise the golf club quite close to your right hip. We're not thinking too much technical here, we're just trying to balance the golf club next to our right hip, so try and keep the connection with your right hip. We're going to swing to the top, place the golf club against your right hip. As we swing to the top, we're just going to let that golf club drop just behind our right heel. So you can see from there, my right hip almost feels like it moves back towards the target line. So I almost feel from here that the middle of my pelvis starts to rotate back towards my target. So from there I'll start to feel like my right hip starts to rotate a little bit more behind me. So I'm trying to turn my right hip into my right heel. I feel like my left hip starts to work in. I feel like my left knee and left hip start to work in the way. That's going to push the right side of my pelvis back. Club to the top, stabilise that right knee, and you just feel like you apply a little bit more pressure with the instep of your right foot. Swing the club to the top and just let this additional club next to your right hip fall behind you slightly. So I almost need to feel like my right hip creates a gap away from the golf club, and that's going to allow the golf club to fall behind me in the backswing. So if I sway, you can see this golf club is going to fall down too quickly. Try and balance the golf club on your right hip for as long as possible into the backswing. Let it fall down as you get to the top of the backswing. So place the grip end of the club quite close to your right hip. You're going to try and keep your right knee over your right foot, and then from there you're going to try and allow your right hip to rotate away from the golf club. A great feeling to try and achieve that is thinking of the middle of the pelvis. You're trying to rotate the middle of the pelvis back towards the target. That might create this feeling of left knee and left hip moving towards the golf ball and allow you to push your right hip up and back in the backswing. So just let that club fall. From there you can see I'm still balancing on my right hip. That golf club on your right hip. You can see from there I create a little bit of a gap. Then as I come into impact, I'm going to let that golf club fall after impact. Struggling with a sway in the backswing where your right knee gets too much outside your right foot, the instep of my right foot starts to elevate. An additional golf club quite close to your right hip, so the grip end of the club almost sits in conjunction with your right hip. And then from there, as we swing to the top of the backswing, I'm going to try and feel like the chest stays in between the feet a little bit longer, and I'm just going to try and balance this golf club on my right hip for as long as possible into the backswing. As I swing to the top, the last thing that's going to happen is this golf club is going to drop to the ground. If I sway too much early on, the golf club falls to the ground too abruptly and too imminently. So what we're going to do from here, place the golf club against your right hip, swing to the top, feel like your right knee stays over the middle of your right foot, and keep your chest inside your right foot a little bit longer into the backswing. Swing to the top, let that club drop. We're not letting the right knee and right hip sway too much outside the right foot. So swing to top, keeping that club on the right hip for as long as possible into the backswing. It'll feel a little bit restricted in your right hip, but it's trying to move your right hip up and back in a different direction. Golf club fall to the ground a little bit longer into the backswing. So if I sway, club falls too quickly, let the club drop and hit the ground too early. Try and delay that. Swing to the top. Then from there, try and balance the golf club on your right hip for as long as possible. And then as you come into the downswing, great feeling from here is you're going to try and get your right hip, right shoulder past the golf club. Impact, that's when you transfer your weight into your left side. Just keep the right knee inside the right foot and allow you to get a little bit more pressure with the instep of your right foot. Swing to the top of the backswing, almost feel from here. I'm trying to rotate the middle of my pelvis back towards the target. That's going to develop a feeling of your right hip working up and back, and it's also going to create this pressure shift more into the instep of your right heel. So we're not trying to get the right knee outside the right foot. Apply a little bit of pressure with the instep of your right foot. Feel that your studs are kind of contacting the ground a little bit longer. Swing to the top. I'm going to feel like the head is a reference point to my right hip. I'm trying to get the club head to disappear as I start rotating into the backswing. So I feel like the middle of my pelvis starts to rotate back towards my target line. It's going to feel left hip and left knee start to work towards the golf ball. That's going to automatically push the right hip up and back. It's going to allow the weight to stay a little bit more on the instep of the right foot. So remember, control the backswing first, and that's going to prevent you to make unnecessary compensations into the downswing to try and get the club head to the golf ball.